their image shown, you can turn your video camera on.
Yes. Just let me know when we start recording. I think I see the little.
I think it's on, right? I didn't hit.
Okay. Yeah. It looks like it's on.
Hey, folks, I'm back.
Hey, Matt. All right. So going back a little, we're going to go over. Should I go back to the agenda just in case anyone that's watching the
That would be
recording?
great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So we're going to cover student account creation, all about TeachUp, which is the learning management system. I'm sorry, the online platform where you can access a lot of the DOE resources and apps, including iLearn NYC learning management system, as well as Google Classroom, and any additional resources that are available to students, parents, and teachers across the DOE.
Yeah, sure, thanks.
I'm sorry, can everybody else please mute their microphones?
Yes, that'd be great. So let's go over the very first step to remote learning and even some of the blended learning that's going on at the school level is making sure that the student has their account available. This account gives the student access to TeachUp, which we're going to go over in a few minutes, as well as any of the available apps that the DOE has approved, like Zoom and Meet and Teams, Google, any of the Google Suite, any of the Microsoft Office Suite. It's available through their at nycstudents.net account. For any school employees, also, you can get all student accounts through STARS Classroom and STARS. Okay, so I'm sure most of you already have an idea of how to access this, but also this slide deck, it's going to be made available to you, so you can use it as a resource with some of the parents that you may be assisting as well. So the main things you're going to need to be able to retrieve student account information is the 9-digit student ID number that's assigned to all students in the DOE. And that's known as the OSIS number, and the date of birth. Hang on, there you go. So once you click on the student access portal, it looks like this. You put in the student OSIS number, date of birth, you hit continue, and go here, yep, you hit continue, and the second step is that it retrieves the student account information. And right now it's just the username. So in this example, we'll put in the OSIS number, date of birth, the student username pops up as Jose B301. You hit continue, and the parents have the ability, and the students have the ability to reset their password as many times as they need to. Prior to this, it was all done at the school level, which could turn very messy. But if a student forgets day to day, or a parent forgets or cannot retrieve a password, they can go ahead and reset it on their own via this portal, via the student account portal. And that's it. And after you've filled in what the new password is, again, there's no limitations to the amount of time you need to do this. You get the brand new password, and then you can go ahead and sign in to a portal like TeachUp or iLearn or Google Classroom. So moving on next is TeachUp, and I think I'm gonna turn it over to Matt, but I believe Jeannie has a question. Yes, Jeannie?
Yeah, sorry. A quick question. So for somebody, participant said, how do you access student ID number for a child starting kindergarten?
That would be generated through ATS, I believe, or a STARS Classroom. I believe that there is and quote me, please stop me if I'm incorrect, Matt. For lower grade students, I think pre-K through first or second is STARS Classroom, while third and up is in STARS.
Jose, that would mean they would have to get that from the school? Is that correct?
That's right, at the school level. Yes, all the OSIS number is retrieved from the school. So you would contact the school. Parent coordinators have access to this. The teacher should have access. Anyone at the school level should be able to provide the OSIS and should provide the OSIS number for the student.
Okay. So once a student gets access to their account information, that's really the sort of the keys to the kingdom. This is sort of the prime moving event for them to get access to all of the applications that are centralized based.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get control of this.
Yeah, Matt, I could stop and you can take over if you wish.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I am unable to share.
Hold on, I just made you a co-host.
Okay. Great. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so TeachUp is a centralized location where the students can access all of their critical apps, whether it be a Google Classroom or iLearn NYC or other specific applications related to their grade level or whatnot. So let's just take a quick look at it. Okay. Actually, I have it up here already. So basically, this is TeachUp. It's divided into sections: pre-K, K-12, elementary school, middle school, and those are the apps related to those specific grades. So as you can see here, you can see there's a Google Classroom link. There's there's Microsoft PowerPoint, there's Microsoft Outlook, there's a whole bunch of iLearn NYC. So these are where all the apps are located, and this really can serve as a centralized launching point for accessing the application that a student would need. Okay, let's see here. All right, so here's sort of like a walkthrough of how it works. So basically, you you can just go to TeachUp on the DOE website, click it, the TeachUp link, then you sign in with your account, then you access the applications, and then you click on application that launches you. In this particular case, we're going to launch into iLearn NYC because I'm going to give a brief overview of that application. You're also able to bookmark directly to both TeachUp and iLearn NYC if after a while you just want to save a little bit of time. Okay, so moving on from TeachUp, now we're going to go into iLearn NYC. iLearn NYC has a really interesting history. It was started, I don't know, like around 2012, and it was really sort of the first platform of its kind, as it was sort of a precursor to TeachUp in many ways. The idea behind iLearn NYC was many different schools were purchasing various different applications, and kids were having multiple logins to different applications. It was really difficult for schools to sort of manage the whole spectrum of applications that they were using. Every application had a separate system for logging in and different ways of managing students. And so there was like a real need to figure out a way to have a single sign-on solution. and iLearn NYC was the first sort of platform really to, and it was actually in many ways it was leading the country in this regard. It was one of the first platforms to really embrace the single sign-on. And in addition, sort of an interesting side note, there was also a sense that all these schools were individually purchasing applications, and that there was an opportunity to leverage the purchasing power of the city to bring pricing down. And since iLearn was a centralized platform, not only was this going to simplify the login process and sort of consolidate for schools, but there was also some cost saving opportunities, because now the ed tech companies were having to sort of sell more in bulk to the city to gain access to this platform. So let's take a look at the platform. Okay. Okay. So this is the platform. Basically, it really functions on two levels for students and teachers. When a student or teacher first logs in, they're brought to their school homepage. This is like, we call this the org level, the organizational level. And this is where there are school-based announcements here that are very sort of generic to the school as a whole. On the left side here, you have the courses that a student has been enrolled in. There are nice big sort of pictures associated with each of these courses. At the top navigation, there's the bell, which is sort of a notification in case there's some notifications regarding any of the coursework. There's opportunities for instant messaging with teachers or students, email, and then there's a waffle up top here where also all the students' courses are available for selection, and you can bookmark those courses if there's particular courses you want to make sure that you don't have to search for. I guess this is really more of a feature for more of a centralized teacher who may have multiple courses, but this is another way of accessing a student's course. So let's go into a class. We have here's an elementary school course set up by the iLearn team, and basically here you have again you have your top navigation remains the same. On the left side here you have content associated with the course. And then we have announcements that a teacher will use specific to a course to communicate with students. This is usually more sort of one-way communication for announcements. It's an opportunity for reminders, maybe to a post daily agenda. It sort of can serve as sort of a whiteboard for teachers as they sort of want to sort of get students contextualized and ready to go, and important reminders. And you can see Mrs. Koo has done that. She's introducing herself in this particular, and she's posted some videos or whatnot. Below announcements is an activity feed, and this is very much like a social media activity feed, where a teacher can post maybe like a question of the day or like a poll, sort of quick interactions. And just to be clear, there's a lot of permission control on the iLearn platform. So teachers can make sure that no students post comments that are not approved, or teachers can say that with particular posts that there's no commenting. So there's a lot of control and supervision in terms of what can and cannot be posted online. And that's dependent on the teacher and sort of what sort of permission level he or she wants to do with the various posts. Let's take a look at at the content here. So on the left nav here, there's various units. You can also access the content in this sort of sub nav here. And this is where units are launched. There are links to documents. Basically, it's the curriculum. One thing that's interesting about iLearn is that because it serves as single sign-on, teachers really have a choice, or schools have a choice. They can actually create their classes using the iLearn course shell, where they can manually put in all of their curriculum and whatnot. Or if a class is then set up around a particular application, iLearn really serves as just a launching pad, much like similar to TeachUp, where the application's links are embedded into the course content section. And when a student clicks on, that their single sign-on follows them from the original login into the iLearn platform into a specific application, like let's say Achieve 3000, which is very popular throughout the city. So again, it eliminates the multiple logins and allows the student to continue to work within the framework of the iLearn application, even though they're actually doing their work on another application. So it's pretty straightforward. There's in the toolkit, there's opportunities for assignments to be submitted. There's teachers can post quizzes. There's discussions. Again, there's a granular level of control about rules and who's allowed to post and not post, and teacher approval or whatnot. So, you know, basically, again, it's really well thought out in terms of making sure that it's a safe environment for students to interact in. There's like a My Portfolio widget for teachers that want to create portfolios for their students. There's various accessibility aids. There's a text age widget, which can basically read or translate anything that's built into the platform. That's quite useful. I don't know if you saw below, but there's also a Google Translate widget on the site as well, so the site can be translated as best. And so there's opportunity. There's lots of functions here for differentiation and making sure that the students' needs can be met in terms of where they are. It's also, also for differentiated learning. Different groups can be created for students. So that they can be working with students at their similar grade level or whatnot. However, whatever the philosophy of the school or of the teacher is, or how they want to do it, the platform basically provides that opportunity.
Hey, Matt, I got a quick question for you.
Sure.
Is iLearn grade specific?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think it's off the top of my head, I don't think it is super user friendly for younger students, but I think it can be modified and done for all grade levels. Yeah. But in terms of the amount of schools that are using it for younger grades, I'd have to follow up with that. Jose, you mentioned a statistic. I'd say about, while iLearn was the platform for summer school, I believe moving forward, would you say 5% of the schools are going to be using iLearn?
Yeah. We ran. I mean, this is boring data talk, so please forgive us. But we ran. DIT ran a survey reaching out to schools across the city, trying to figure out which learning management system they preferred. And please don't quote me, but it definitely was in the 90s. About 95% of schools across the city chose Google Classroom over iLearn. So, there's obviously more of an audience for Google Classroom, especially since during the rush to remote learning during the spring, that was the platform of choice across the city, and it looks like it stayed that way. And we didn't mention it up at front, so please forgive us because we had a couple of technical difficulties. But we're definitely going to hang out longer and try to get as many questions answered as possible for you guys. So don't think that once we're done we're going to run out of here. But we'll hang out and definitely answer as many questions as we can for you. And whatever we don't have answers for, we will definitely work with Jeannie to get those answers for you.
Right. And obviously we're agnostic when it comes to which platform is better. They both have different strengths and weaknesses. I think Google Classroom is a little bit easier for folks to grasp because many people already have familiarity with the Google apps and that sort of application ecosystem. But iLearn has a little more robust features and it's a little easier to integrate with other ed tech applications. Although I'm sure Google will continue to add on features that eventually will mirror much of the functionality of iLearn NYC. Platform.
And I don't think I'm talking out of school. And by the way, just so you know what's happening in my house right now, I'm also doing remote learn, like trying to get my son online during remote learning. So that's literally happening right now. So you know, he's joining his second grade class and I'm multitasking. So I totally get what parents are going through at the moment and teachers as well and students.
Right. So that's an overview of iLearn NYC. Let's move on to Google Classroom.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to do my best to one, I'm going to try to take over the screen again from Matt, and two, I'm going to do my best to show you the view from an iPad, because my understanding is that a lot of the accessing of Google Classroom is being, I think majority of the access that view that students are seeing and parents are seeing may be from an iPad, but Google Classroom is accessible through a PC, a laptop, a browser, or a mobile device like an iPad. So are you guys seeing that? You guys see my view?
Let me see here. I do. Yes, I do see it.
Yeah. So the screen that you're looking at right now is my iPad. And I'm going to take you to the very beginning, a more recognizable view. Here we are. This is one of the DOE student test iPads that I've been working on to help test some of the apps and the way things are supposed to look for students in the DOE. So on the very bottom, I know most of you probably already have a lot of experience with iPads. The iPad that the DOE handed out may function a little different than what you're accustomed to. The standard iPad that you may have purchased, for personal use, does not have the same apps on the bottom that the DOE iPad has, but they do function fairly the same. You can download Google Classroom on your personal iPad and still use the at nycstudents.net accounts to be able to log in, and your child can use it for instruction. So let me just show you. Let me go to my slide deck here and work off the slide deck, and then I'll show you the more live view. Okay, so here we are. Let me hit present so you can see screen large. Okay, so we're going to cover understanding the layout and being able to join the class, which is one of the first things that you need to do to be able to access content that the teacher has provided for students in Google Classroom. Let me take you to the first screen. And let me make that a little bit smaller. So there are two ways of joining a classroom, and that's using a class code provided to you by the teacher via invitation. So the teacher can invite the student, which will generate an email for the student at their nycstudents.net account. And in there, it's just a click and a link. You click on it and it takes you right into the classroom, or via a class code, a join class code, where the teacher will provide a class code similar to this one here in the bottom. You would enter, you hit the plus on the bottom right-hand side of the view screen. And I'm gonna do this live for you in a second. And then you type in the class code and you would automatically join the teacher's class that's available for your student. And let me just make the screen smaller. And I will take you there. So here we are, and the icon for Google Classroom looks like here. It looks like a green little classic chalkboard. You see the little chalk on the side, people in the center, it's green. So I'm gonna go ahead and click, and it'll turn it on. And here is a view from some of the classrooms that are available for this test student that's in the corner here. Now, let me move it over right here. So right now there are 2 classes that the student has joined. If you're in an elementary school setting, that first one could be the main room, homeroom, where your student gets English, and math, and writing, and any of the other courses that the homeroom, the main teacher will provide for your student. Or they can join like a science class or a gym class. So all those would be broken up. There are teachers that create classrooms for different subjects. So in this case here, for this example, this teacher created a remote learning demo classroom and one for just English language arts. So it depends how the teacher set it up. For each one of these, remote learning or ELA, there are different class codes that the teacher should be providing for your student. So I'm gonna go to the first one because I wanna go over the layout, the main layout. And again, this is the student view. This is the view that the student is seeing, not the teacher. So if you look at the bottom here, it's broken up to 3 different tabs that the student can view. First is the stream. And I hate to make this comparison, but I'm gonna make it anyway because I'm sure some of you have experience with it. But essentially, the stream works just like Facebook. It's any announcement that a teacher has made or something that a student wants to share. So a student here can just simply put a message to the entire class. The example would be a student raising their hand, a teacher picking them, and the student standing up and sharing out. This is a conversation that everyone is having. So I'm just gonna simply type hello. And once this message of hello is gonna go out to everyone in the class. And there's a little symbol right here of the paper airplane. You click on that and it shares out to everyone in the class, including the teacher. The second view that you'll see, let me just go over what type of messages you may find here. There's only 2 types. There's a general message by a teacher saying, explore more than 300,000 ebooks and audio books available for free at the New York Public Library. And there's an attachment to directions on how to access that. Or the teacher may simply put, please join our remote learning demo classroom on quizzes, and so on. So these are all the announcements. The only student announcement was the one that I put hello, because there's only 1 student in this class. So this is the quick way to get the latest of what's happening in this classroom, this virtual classroom. Next is classwork. Any assignments that the teacher makes available to the student, to the entire class, it's found here. It may be set up slightly different, depending on what the teacher, how the teacher wants the class to access information. In this case, this teacher set it up as a virtual trip. There's a health and physical education section, which may be a shared classroom by teachers in general. Maybe that's the gym teacher created that topic. There's a current events, there's a civics for all. This is obviously a little older grade classroom. Social studies listed all out. And science, maybe the science teacher contributing to this class. There's a math lesson, there's an English language arts, it's biology. So all the different subjects may be broken up in here. And under each subject, you will find assignments. So the way to access an assignment is simply by clicking on it. And there you have if the teacher lays it out like this, you may have a focus question that is the main driving question that a student should answer. There may be the objective, and let me see if this has an attachment. Yes. And if you look at the very bottom here under, let me move that to the side. Under here is a little arrow where it says your work. And here is where, after the student reads the directions, they hit that button and drag up. And they're going to see all the resources that the teacher has made available. So there's this yellow symbol here is a Google Slides, which maybe you all familiar with the Microsoft comparison of PowerPoint. This is a PowerPoint on an arts lesson, a demo Google Classroom arts lesson. And there looks to be a worksheet attached. This symbol here is the logo for Google Docs, which in the Microsoft world, it is a Microsoft Word document. So these are the two material assignments for the student to access. And where it says add attachment, this is where the student could begin their work. Let's just say that they have something in their Google Drive already that they want to attach as a response to this lesson, a link they may have found. Maybe this is a research lesson, a link that they have found on the internet. They could put the link in here. They have a file on their laptop, on their desktop that they can that they worked on. Maybe they even worked on it using Microsoft Word because they're more familiar with Microsoft Word. They can add the attachment there. They may have a photo in their Google Drive that they want to get. Maybe they don't. Maybe they want to take a photo of a worksheet that they did. They can do that very thing. I just hit use camera and you can see my messy desk and there's everyone. And today's my wife's birthday, so my kids all drew birthday cards, and I just took a picture of it. I could hit use photo, and it will attach it to this assignment. Or like I mentioned before, I can create a Word doc out of it and attach it as well. And once I'm done, there it is. And once I'm done, I could hit turn in. And once I hit turn in, the assignment is officially turned in and it is locked until the teacher has reviewed and sent it back. If I made a mistake or have further questions under private comments, I can write to the teacher. And that's a private comment only between your student and the teacher. The rest of the class cannot see it. So I need more help with this. Then I can hit turn in, and the teacher will receive, hit that, yay. And now the teacher will see that I, as the student, needs more help with this assignment. And then I could just hit the arrow back down. I'm back into the assignment. And the last tab, and that's how you access all the classwork within Google Classroom, a little bit simpler, I find, to use as far as learning management systems go. And the last tab is the People tab. And a student can see not only who their teachers are, there's the 3 teachers up on the top, they can also see a list of classmates, so they don't feel alone. They'll know who is in their class. And that really is the gist of Google Classroom. Very simple to use. I do, much like iLearn, I do feel that there's a specific entry point as far as grades. When I was a classroom teacher, I started to introduce Google Classroom to my 2nd graders about mid-year, when they were more like 3rd graders. So we'll say officially from 3rd grade and up. is really where I think it's the sweet spot for Google Classroom. There's been teachers who are very gifted at being able to work with Google Classroom and scaffold it for younger grades, but I feel like the right grade group is third grade and all the way up until the higher ed. And I think that is the best age group for Google Classroom. Let me see if there's anything else on the slide. I feel like I covered everything in Google Classroom. We'll go over, and again, we're gonna take all your questions in a minute. As soon as we go finish up this presentation, I'll be happy to hear whatever it is whatever questions you may have. Matt, do you want to go over some additional resources?
Well, I was, let's see here. Sorry. Oh yeah, I'm not on mute.
You can work off of mine if you want.
Yeah, sure. No, basically, also I just want to mention that, Google doesn't charge a licensing fee for Google Classroom, and iLearn has a licensing fee. So that also may explain some of the the differences in terms of adoption. Basically, in terms of iLearn, I could go over the iLearn resources real quick. There is on the iLearn platform, let me just, I'll just quickly, here we go. On the iLearn platform, there is, there's basically a place where you can get help. There's iLearn support, and it's got resources for getting started. There are introductory videos that the iLearn folks have put together, how to sign in, students sign in. I just noticed there's a parental section here for geared towards parents. It looks like there's a parent portal coming soon. So these are some of the resources that are made available to iLearn students and parents on the site. And there is also a dedicated iLearn team that there are iLearn implementation managers that work closely with the schools that are implementing iLearn. So in addition to the self-help tools, there are actually experts hired specifically at the DOE to work directly with schools and teachers to make sure that their iLearn implementation is a success.
Great.
We got a bunch of links here. There are all these places where there's more information and guidelines for anything from, digital citizenship resources, digital meeting guidelines, remote learning facts. It's lots of really good, there's lots of really good stuff available for additional support information online. Any questions?
So I'm going to post in the chat one of the most valuable resources available for continual professional development around the LMSs, which is like Google Classroom. It's the remote learning calendar, and it is, Matt is showing it right now where it says the 10 live learning opportunities. The remote learning calendar is a rolling calendar 5 days a week, all day, of live professional development of DOE teachers. A lot of our vendor partners are providing training around Google Classroom and iLearn, and it's an amazing resource. Thank you, Matt. Yeah. So, and it's all created all by days of the week. Like there's one for Pear Deck, a lot of Pear Deck right now, and if you do not see Google Classroom PDs or iLearn, I guarantee you by next week, it will definitely be rolling out because we've had a lot of conversation with some of our vendor partners to provide this trainings for everyone in the DOE. You're all welcome to attend. You do have to have obviously an schools.nyc account to be able to access the join links to this because it is a closed environment only for DOE folks. There will be some PD workshops for parents. I'm going to try to dig those up and make sure some of the updated information is available. And I'm going to share with Jeannie so she have access to it. And you guys are welcome to share that with your parents that are not DOE employees as well. We're going to start working with parent coordinators as well to make sure that they can provide support at the school level with some of the technical questions that have been popping up. So that is going to be rolling out hopefully by next week. So just hang in there a little bit longer. And I think that's it for now. I'd be happy to open it up for questions. I like to hear the questions. So if you feel like you want to unmute yourself and share with us, that'd be great. Or Jeannie, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Jeannie, if you could just read them right from the chat if folks don't want to.
Sure. There's one here. It says, is there any way as a parent to have multiple accounts, messages to see or to be sent to make sure kids are completing their work, or will I have to log in individually and check?
In Google Classroom, there is a section for guardians. So a parent, I would recommend that a parent reach out to the classroom teacher and request that they be added to request their email be added to the guardian section of Google Classroom. So whenever a teacher sends out an assignment, the parent gets an overview of what that assignment is. They can't tell what's happening within the classroom minute by minute because that would open it up to other students' information being shared, but the parents do see the assignments and any announcement that the teacher will make. I hope that answers your question.
Will the slides?
Yeah, and I see one about from Lauren Goldenberg. Lauren, yes, I will put my email into the chat for you, and feel free to reach out.
Schools may also have their own notification set up. You know, like some schools use the Remind app that they may.
Class Dojo. I think Class Dojo was a big one during the spring remote rush to remote. Yeah, so that's a popular
they may use an alternative application in conjunction with Google Classroom to message out to parents.
Do you know if this information that you've been sharing with us, is it available in Spanish as well?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, but I can tell you that I'm going to see if I can pull this off by sharing. I'm going to share my screen first, a little trick that I've learned. Hang on a second, Jeannie. All right. And now hopefully it actually works. Here is the slide deck that we've been presenting. I'm going to right click. This is, by the way, this is Google Chrome that I'm using, and they have a very, very robust translation tool built in to the browser. So this is the slide deck that we were just presenting with the remote learning calendar in here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to, let me see if it's here. Oh my goodness, I don't think I see it. There is a translation.
Maybe under tools?
Maybe, I don't think it's under slides. I think it's under docs. So, I mean, there's a lot of workaround you would have to do. No, Jeannie, the short of it is that no, there's not. It's unfortunate that not every one of these tools did not provide a translation feature, but there are some tools like docs that do. And I can say, and I don't think I'm speaking out of school here. It was under an NDA that like we were not supposed to share, but I think that has passed. That Google Classroom is going to get a bunch of brand new features. And one of those is a translation feature built into Google Classroom. So any document that's embedded, like a classwork document that's embedded within Google Classroom, will get translated, which is amazing. I think it's going to be out before the end of October. I know it's a little late, but it will be at the end of October. So a doc like this, a Google Doc, you go to Tools, Translate Document, and you can change the language. And I think Maria's asked for Spanish. So I can hit translate the very same doc that I was on, and it will generate, it takes a little bit to translate, but it will generate a translated version of that document. So yeah, there you go. And it's not exact. The translation is a little bit off, but you could follow it. My Spanish is terrible, but I have somewhat of an understanding. And I'm able to get a gist of what it's saying. And I understand, but grammatically it's a little bit off. But they keep making improvements, and hopefully it'll get better.
So we have a couple of minutes left. Matthew and Jose have graciously accepted and they will stay a little longer for anybody who wants to stick around. But given everybody's time constraints, thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much, Matthew and Jose, for taking the time to go through these different platforms, and hopefully it'll be a lot smoother than the spring.
Yeah. And there's a lot here, and I know, and there's no way that you can retain a lot of this information in an hour. It takes a lot of practice. So I can't impress you more that, check out the remote learning calendar. You know what, Matt, can you do me a favor? Can you just copy and paste this slide deck right into the chat?
They're all they're all together. Oh, they're right here.
Okay.
No, wait a minute.
But yes, check out the remote learning calendar.
It's mixed.
It's really
with one of them. Oh, it's mixed with these guys.
Join things.
You want me to sort them out? They're in between both of them.
Okay, Jose, you can unmute yourself.
I lost you for a second. Okay. You
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome. Feel free to reach out.
Thank you all for coming, and anybody who wants to stay behind, you can.
Hi, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Are the remote learning PDs in that calendar available? Will they be recorded and then available for later viewing?
Yes. There is a tab in that calendar for any recorded PD. So you can go back to even as far as the springtime in March to see some recordings that were made. Just understand that a lot of it was recorded under stress because we're trying to onboard as many teachers as possible. So there may be, and folks were not sure how they weren't sure of norms within recording. So you may get folks breaking in at certain points and maybe asking a question or people having conversations. So just know that may show up, but the information is super valuable, and under recordings you can stop it and come back later and practice it. So yeah, I definitely recommend you guys checking it out.
Okay, great. Because I really want to listen in on the 11 o'clock one today, but I have a call at 11. Actually, have to jump off for. How long do you think it will take for that one to be available as a recording?
Well, I'll tell you that some are recorded, some are not. It's not, during springtime, it was a good amount of them were recorded.
Okay.
I don't know if they're following those same, behaviors, then they're hitting record all the time. But for the, in some cases they are. There may be an email to someone there that's doing the presentation. You could probably email them and ask them. or they tend to repeat as well. So maybe if you miss it at the 11 o'clock, you can catch it either later today or tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. So it's in the chat here. Is that what you said? The
Um,
calendar?
I'll put it in here, and it's definitely on the slide deck. Let's see.
Is it on the Employee Info Hub?
Yes, and it's
Okay.
in TeachUp as well, which is
TeachUp. Okay, so I can go
an
there.
add-on. Yeah, but I'll put it
Okay.
here. Remote Cal.
Thank you so much.
TITMIC. Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thank you. I have to jump off. This was very helpful. Bye-bye.
I attended one of those for my own learning, and the teacher who presented sent everyone the recording link the following day, link to the recording.
Awesome. Yeah, there's some vendors that are very good with that, like, you know, Tech and Apple, and they are quick to record and send. There's some that, you know, for whatever agreement they may have had with the DOE, did it once and, you know, they're not going to do it again.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, unmute yourself. Let's hear you.
Yes, as far as I know, remote learning is starting tomorrow, correct?
Oh boy. Yes, I believe it's happening. I'm having my, like, again, I'm having my own struggles here. I did this presentation. My son is staring at me, wondering when I'm going to help him with his schoolwork as live instruction is going on. It's a juggle for parents. It's very tough right now.
Yeah, my daughter's school, I'm starting the hybrid version, and I know that starts on the 21st. But we just, received an update. Before it was going to be 3 days. Now it's down to 2 days a week.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Let's see if it happens.
Yeah. I have to make a decision soon. I'm watching my kids struggle with it. Social emotionally, they're missing their teacher, they're missing their classmates. And even though they'll do this with their friends, they'll do remote, they'll go on Zoom. It's just not the same. But of course, the flip side is the fear, the fear of, what if, I get sick, they get sick, my elderly in-laws get sick. It's just this thing that parents are going through. It's so tough right now.
Agreed. There's some very valid concerns, parents and teachers.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's been some incidences already of transmission, which is really concerning. Fingers crossed.
So Jeannie, we did this presentation for you, and just to put it in context, like, can you tell me about this amazing group?
Sure. So I don't know if Sadie's here. She's one of the co-founders of the group. So she wasn't able to log on. But this group was formed about 2 years ago by 3 fabulous DOE moms. One of which, who she had just come back to work after having a baby, and realizing that there weren't enough spaces so that she can express her milk. And she was working at Tweet at the time, and started engaging other DOE moms in conversation about, what kind of supports there were within the DOE, for new moms and for current moms. And so out of that, they came to, at the time, the employee resource groups were starting up, and they decided to come together to have a support group for working moms, so that we can kind of channel our resources and our energy and try to have the DOE work for us as well, and to help support us in ways that we need. And so, as a result of that, there were many more lactation spaces available, and they opened up. And there's also a kit that they put together about, things to keep in mind and what to do before you go on maternity leave. Something I desperately needed when I didn't have until, you know, like the day before. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Sure.
And yeah, and so it kind of stemmed from there. And there was a great speaker series last year where we had like the First Lady, the mayor's wife come and speak, as well as other great DOE working women who came in to share their stories and share how they were trying to balance it, you know, all. So, you know, hopefully this new school year, we can do more of the same and continue. And we have such great resources and such helpful people. So thank you again for coming.
Of course. And you know, our department, I'm part of we're part of the ed tech team in DIIT, and it's the balance of instruction and technology. And that's very important to me, to Matt. And we have a lot of great contacts with some of the vendors like Apple that we're doing workshops for parents over the summer on accessibility with the iPads, like how do you personalize this device for each student, because the device is fantastic, but there are aspects of it that need to be tweaked to make it appropriate for instruction for each student, and having a special ed background, and that's what I focused on when I was in the classroom. I consider it very important, like, you know, how do you teach a student, how do you teach families how to make the text bigger, how to get the device to do voiceover, like voice control. So if a student has a visual disability, how are they going to access this device if we're all remote, if the student is not in the classroom? So these things are super important to me, and I'm sure, and I know that they're important to parents in general. If that's something that you're interested in, your group is interested in, I could speak to the representatives at Apple to see if we can customize workshops for parents. So and I know that they love to do it. So
that sounds wonderful. And I think that, yeah, especially like the special ed community and the parents like are, you know, desperately trying to figure this out and to make this year as productive as they can for their kids as well. So yes, thank you for offering, and I will be in touch about
that's great.
That. So
thank you. All right. I think that's it. You know, feel free to reach out with any questions you may have. Jeannie, if you could, I mean, if folks have questions, if you can collect them all, and then maybe, you know what, why don't we at a later time today or tomorrow, let's debrief, and we can try to answer some information for folks that did not get their questions answered.
Sounds good. And everybody, please feel free to email me if you have any questions that you want me to pass on to Jose and Matthew. Thank you all again for joining, and
take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.